Hi, hello, and welcome to the second series of Rhythm Section Future-Proof Masterclasses. If you're not familiar, Rhythm Section is the South London-based label, promoter, radio show, and Future-Proof is the program we run to try and demystify the music industry, taking everything that our team have learnt over the last 10 plus years and trying to share that to help break down some barriers. It kind of evolved from a Patreon program and some online sessions we did during lockdown. And now, thanks to some great funding support from Arts Council England and Beatport, we are able to do these fantastic interviews and film them and share them with you all. And in fact, today we are in Bristol. So big thank you to Strange Brew in Bristol for hosting us. I'm Emily, sometimes known as EJ, also known as Echo Juliet. I'm a DJ and a producer, and I'm part of the team running Future Proof alongside Amelia and Bradley Zero and the rest of the Rhythm Section team. And today I'm very, very excited to be joined by producer and DJ Jordan. Ninja Tune artist, winner of Radio 1 Dance Award. They've been on the cover of NME and Mix Mag, DJ Mag's Best Breakthrough Producer. This is such a long list of awards, seriously. DJ Mag's Best Breakthrough Producer, winner of Pete Tong's Breakout Star of the Year on Radio 1. They released their acclaimed debut album, I Am Jordan, in 2024, which also got nominated for Best Album at the DJ Mag Awards. So we are super excited to be able to pick your brains today. We're going to sort of, I think, focus this chat around production. But as you rightly pointed out, there are so many videos and talks about the technical side of production on YouTube, you know, EQs, like what compression you need on a kick drum. So we thought it would be good to talk a bit more about the kind of the reality of like being an artist and your approach to making music. We're not going to be getting Ableton up. We're going to be talking more kind of on a slightly less technical, more like approach and artistic side of things.
Yeah, sounds good. Hello, everyone.
Hi. So you kind of made waves as a DJ before you started releasing music.
Yes.
How did you get into producing? How did that happen?
So I've been DJing for 14 and a half years, and I always wanted to make music, but I didn't have the confidence to, and also didn't really have the time. I was working full-time up until really recently, and I just, put it off for ages. And then when I moved to London in 2014, I started running a ambient social and record label with a producer called Dead Boy. We used to run that in Rywax, so those who are familiar with London will remember Rywax. It closed down over lockdown, and New Atlantis was like the last ever event that we ever did there, or like Rywax ever did. So we started like as a social, and then me and Alan decided that we wanted to like do some releases from the people that used to come through the social. And then I just thought, this is my opportunity to kick my own ass and kick myself up my ass, basically, and like actually make some music, because I don't have to pitch anything to anybody. I can just, control it in my own way. And I did a compilation and put one of my tracks on there. And then it just sort of happened. I was making music a lot in between, like working full time and actually just putting in the time. I used to spend quite a lot of time on trains. My partner used to live in Cambridge, so like when I was like traveling up to theirs, I'd just like try out things on Ableton, and then it just sort of became a thing.
Got hooked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So how long was it between when you started to learn how to produce and when you released your first track? If you can remember.
So release my first track on my own label or release on another label? Because I think that on my own label, it would have been about a month. On
a month?
Yeah, it was not long. I was like, well, I'm the label boss. I sign whatever I want. Like, even if it's rubbish, I'll put my own track on it. And it wasn't that great. But yeah, I think maybe about a year.
Okay.
Probably. I don't remember the timeline exactly. But it wasn't. The EP that came out on Local Action, the Don't Stop My Love EP, that was my first EP. Some of them were like the first ever dance tracks that I'd ever made. So,
wow, yeah,
yeah,
that's a pretty solid start.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, honestly.
You're obviously a natural. I think that's part of it. And how did you find that process of learning to produce? Did you find that you took to it really easily, or did you find it a struggle? How did that?
Both, I think. I think I really enjoyed it. I did quite well in being able to release quite soon after producing, but I also made a lot of rubbish that I listened back to, and I'm even listening back to my first EP. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what have I done to those hi-hats? So I think, there was a lot of it was mostly fun, but yeah, there was times where I was like speaking to my friends, like, how the hell do you do this? Because I am so stuck, and like, I think I used to listen. I tried to use like B other people's tracks, and like a sort of task I set myself was to try and like recreate a song that another producer had made that I really liked. When I was just starting, I wouldn't put it anywhere. It was just like so I could learn about a few things and try and figure out what they did.
That's a smart idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. So you were doing a lot of like paying attention to what other people were doing and learning through listening.
Yeah. Learning through listening and learning through YouTube. I still use YouTube for everything. Just 2 months ago, I searched on YouTube how to make the Benny Benassi Satisfaction bass.
Nice.
And now I have that. I've made that, and I can save that, and I can go back to it, and I've just got the Benny Benassi Satisfaction bass. But like, a lot of it is like 20-minute YouTube tutorials that I will just sort of save and then tweak and do my own thing with. That helped.
So you're entirely self-taught, basically?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was in the studio with my friend Talia the other day, and we were talking about auto-tune and how I've never used it before, because I don't really work with vocalists as much as I am now. But she was like, do you have any idea of music theory? I was like, I have no clue, because with auto-tune, you're supposed to know the keys of tracks, and I know keys, but I don't know the theory behind them. I can mix in key in my ear, but I don't know why I know that.
Yeah, you're doing it all by ear, basically.
Yeah. Someone was telling me the other day that she started using Rekordbox to like arrange things in key, and
that's interesting.
Which I'd never heard of before. But so I'm just like, when I DJ, I listen to both things at the same time to see if the keys clash, and then I won't choose that track if there's a key clash in it. But apparently, Rekordbox can do that for you now.
Yeah, it can. Yeah. And the CDJ 3000s, it lights up the tracks that are in compatible keys in bright green.
Oh my God, I had no idea about that. I've been using my ears this entire time.
Yeah. You probably have to analyse the key of the tracks in Rekordbox first.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
God.
I'm not supposed to be teaching you things here. This is the wrong way around.
No, knowledge is always shared. Always.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. I've completely lost the thread of how we got to that
Production.
now. Yes, production, self-taught. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's incredible that you're completely self-taught and you don't have the music theory knowledge. I think, especially because your music has quite a lot of like melodic elements in it, and it's quite warm sounding. Like,
oh, thank you.
That's impressive that you can do that all by ear.
Maybe it's the naivety and the lack of experience that actually gives it some personality, because I know a lot of people who can spend, all of their life learning about the hertz on a certain EQ, but can't make music that makes you feel anything. So
yes,
yeah. There's a difference, isn't there, between like theory and like application?
Yeah.
And I try to go with like what feels good in me and what sounds good, rather than like, if I don't know if the mixes are based properly. I mean, the basses are mixed properly. I mean, I try to do that, but yeah, I try not to get bogged down in the theory too much.
I think that's really a really good approach, and I guess connected to that, like, there's this kind of idea that producers need to have a signature sound. Did you feel like yours evolved quite quickly? Were you able to kind of identify what it was quite quickly, or do you feel like you're kind of trying lots of different things?
I was really when you sent me this question, I was really happy to be talking about this, because I don't know what my signature sound is.
Okay.
I'm going to produce, I don't know how long I've been music for, but I've written an album. I don't know what the sound is. I suppose people say my music is like emotive and hopeful, and like, the dance music stuff that I make is like quite energetic.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to do that, and I don't think about that, and I still couldn't. I feel sometimes I compare myself to other artists who have a really distinct sound, who, like Talia, for example. I know a Talia track. She could just play me anything, and she'll like choose which one's mine, and I'll be able to point it out. I feel like I can't. I don't know if people could do that for mine. I don't know. That's
really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you say that as well, because also, I think the emotive and warm thing you mentioned, like, I have noticed that, and that also you're signed to Ninja Tune, and that is a part of what I consider an Ninja Tune kind of sound.
Agreed. Yeah.
But also I know that, you know, with your debut album, you explored a lot of different sounds and kind of energies anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe the answer is that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Or you know, if you made it, then it's you. Like you're drawn to sounds that you like, and that's your taste. The same with DJing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're drawn to sounds you like, and that's your taste, and then therefore that is your sound.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like I would like to try and figure out that question to myself because it might help me, but I don't know yet.
I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, I feel like other people might know, but yeah, it feels weird. I've never. Some people have said to me in the past, like, I can tell you do have a sound, but I make so many different genres sometimes. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's also very hard to get perspective on your own work, isn't it? Like when you've just made something.
Yeah.
Like, well, I love this, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I think almost like, you know, sometimes you need a therapist to call you out on your own emotional blind spots. I kind of needed somebody in music to tell me that about my own music.
That's super interesting.
Because I can't see it because it's just made by me. So I'm connected to it in a way that can't be viewed by someone that hasn't made it.
Yeah, and I guess that's where having a sounding board or having that feedback mechanism is really useful, right? Because and I think that's quite a big challenge for emerging producers. Is so much of the time you're working on your own, and if you know you're alone in your bedroom or whatever, and if there's no one forcing you to share it with anyone, then you don't get that response or that feedback mechanism.
Totally, share music with people if you're producing just friends, and it helps a lot.
I'm guessing you did that quite early on.
Yeah.
Picking up on your therapist analogy, like one of the things I love about your debut album, especially, like that, you know, you do bring kind of concepts to your music, and there's some quite personal themes. How aware of that are you when you're making the music?
I mean, for the album, one of the most personal songs on there is a song called People Want Nice Things, which documents my voice changing over a period of a year, on testosterone. And that was deeply personal. I was heavily involved in that because I wanted to make something that, like, archived that period of my life, which is quite important to me. I also, most of the time though, the stuff that's like quite emotional or stuff that connects with me from like an emotional period is done in retrospect. So I use music writing most often when I'm trying to process things, or I know when something's like happening. Say if I'm going through a bit of a difficult time or I'm not feeling great, if I write a track, I'm not like writing it thinking, oh, I'm feeling really, really sad and this is connected to that. But like after that period has passed, I can listen back to it and be like, oh, that period was like connected to that sort of thing.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think with my album as well, like the title is called I Am Jordan. It's connected to a lot of things that are really personal to me. So I wanted the album to be personal and to feature lots of different genres because that's personal to me as well. So there's like the music writing element that connects to things that are personal. There's like, you know, the artwork is like a really deeply personal thing where I didn't want to have my face on the artwork, so like it's at the back of my head. But I wanted like shots of the artwork to represent parts of me that make me euphoric. And the album cover is my favorite color in the world. So there's like all these like different elements to the personal project, really. It's not just like the music writing, it's like everything is connected to that. That's
amazing. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to hear about that because it's something that part of the process especially is something that doesn't really get talked about. And I certainly found with my first release, I was like, how do I begin, where do I start with this stuff? So it's really interesting to hear that sometimes it's kind of after, with the perspective, that you can start to see what the concept is and what the theme is. And
totally. I think I really feel like retrospect is what helps put things helps give things a narrative for me. There's kind of like the music that I'm writing now has a narrative behind it, but like there's probably stuff that will maybe go into another album in a few years' time that I'll like connect with from this period, but it's not there yet. So it's like takes time to get to that stage, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's also really interesting to talk about that because this is like a much bigger thing that maybe we'll come on to in a bit, that there's this kind of pressure on artists to be releasing a lot of music, and people are churning out a lot of tracks very quickly. And sometimes I have observed, and this is just my opinion, that there is sometimes a lack of narrative or emotion or kind of theme in a lot of what's released. It's just like, here's another house track that will work well at midnight or whatever. And there's not a story. There's not that element is kind of not there, which is why I think it stands out so much that you put so much, and you're happy to share that personal story so much.
Oh, thank you.
In your
I think
music.
I actually I've got I could talk forever about that concept. I feel like that's like a whole theory in itself. I think that both types of music have a place. And, you know, if I'd have just released, say, one of my singles, which was Round and Round, which is just basically like a 4/4 club track, if I had just released that on its own, it doesn't really have loads of narrative behind it. But actually, like, connecting it to the, I mean, I suppose it does have a narrative behind it. It's, like, inspired by me growing up in South Yorkshire and stuff. But, yeah, I think there's, like, standalone tracks may not have, but within the concept as a whole, like, a project as a whole might do. In terms of, like, what you're saying about things not having narrative and emotion, I think actually I have a theory that everything is so bad at the minute that like people are literally just wanting an escapism and they're wanting to numb themselves, and like the sort of the dance music way, it's the way that it's sort of moving towards, like quite fast, not really in depth, like kind of memeified stuff. I mean, obviously, I think Horse Girl's amazing. I think what she does is really, really cool. But I think a lot of people will criticize that project and say that it is lacking sort of, you know, anything that's serious or a narrative. But I think she deserves a place, and I think that like that sort of like type of escapism is a concept in itself, and that not having the emotion is a concept in a way, and like people want to go out to the club and to numb and to escape because things are awful at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That like, yeah, escapism and hedonism has a place too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a balance to be had, because I think that's also not that I just use Horse Girls as an example, but I'm just thinking about that sort of world in general, like quite TikTok-y producers and stuff. I sort of think that like it's really good to have that, but we also need the narrative, and we also need the concepts and like the other side of things, and people do still want to get in their feelings, but maybe not all the time.
Yeah, and maybe not at 1 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just a balance to be struck with it, I think, and I think that I do worry a little bit about how sort of TikTok is pushing the industry towards, really fast releases, and DSPs or Spotify or whatever, really fast releases. Like, I've got to shorten down my tracks now to 2 or 3 minutes, and everything has to have like a hook within the first 5 seconds, because TikTok's, you know, attention spans just decrease in people's minds and stuff. So I think there's a balance to be had. Like, I'm quite interested in like the longevity and concept of old school campaigns and albums and how people connect with them, and if there's a decrease and how that changes generationally as well. But I don't know. Yeah,
it's a really interesting point, and social media is something we've all got to embrace and battle with at the same time.
Every day.
Yeah. That's a whole other talk.
Oh yeah, we've got another question on that later, haven't we? Yeah, we'll go.
if we get there, I don't know. We've got a lot to get through. But I think on that point about like, you know, the pressure to make more stuff, release shorter tunes, I think there's also a kind of more of an expectation around DJs now to be producing. I don't know if you would agree with that. And I'm interested to know whether, what your experiences are of that, and whether you think that's a good thing.
I think they're two different art forms, but I feel like it's not the individual's fault that they have to go down that route in order to get recognised more. It's the fact that we've created an industry that my primary income comes from DJing, and if I wasn't good at that, well, how would I be an artist? So I think that like the industry is set up to sort of put the focus on that sort of thing. And I think that a lot of people who started producing earlier on, before they were a DJ, have had to like quickly learn how to DJ. And it is a different art form. It's a different skill set. You've got to read crowds. You've got to transition properly and it not sound crap. And, you know the right time to play certain songs and all that sort of stuff, which is very different to sitting in a room on your own and like making a song, I think. There's definitely overlaps. It's really helped me being a DJ before I was a producer. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily. I think maybe if we sort of like, yeah, everyone has to be a producer to get far. It's like, well, that's the problem of the industry, and why are we creating that sort of like approach to things. I think also if you look at a lot of the people who've managed to maintain longevity in their careers primarily as a DJ and not as a producer are mostly white cishet men. So that's, again, putting a mirror up on the industry and like why only certain people are allowed to succeed in one sort of thing, or, you know, people that don't fall under that category have got to work 10 times as harder and also produce. So yeah.
And you know, the reality, I guess, as well is that, as you say, if DJing is the way to make most of your money, that's a pretty draining occupation in terms of time and travel and energy, all the late nights, etc. To then also be consistently making and putting out music of a quality that you want and balancing all of that is also a thing in itself.
Yeah, and I did that and also worked a full-time job up until 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's insane.
I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I was not really doing much apart from working and making music, I guess.
Sleeping at work.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's hard. It's also just like, that's the thing about working classness as well. I'm from a working class background. I was like the first person in my family to like leave Doncaster and get qualifications, and I've sort of got producing in my late 20s. I'm 34 now. If I hadn't have had that if I've had a bit more financial security, I maybe hadn't have had to do 20,000 things at once. So yeah, you have to do loads.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting that you mentioned your background there as well, because I think that is something that class background is something that conversation has not really come to the fore yet in electronic music.
I'm trying. Me and Shrell are trying. I feel like we try and bring it up quite a lot. Yeah.
But I think it is really important to talk about because, you know, it's sort of cropped up a few times recently when people became aware that certain very prominent artists are from very wealthy backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not naming any names. But so I think people are kind of slightly more aware of it. But I'm interested to know how you feel. I mean, obviously, working full time that far into your DJ and producing career is probably one big impact. I'm interested to know how you feel that your background has impacted your journey.
Massively impacted it, and it still impacts me like day to day, where I don't know things that other people would probably have an upper hand on, that's maybe from a different class than me, or like been involved in the industry in a little bit longer and stuff. There's like, I don't know, it's impacted me in loads of different ways. I'm trying to think of some like quite easy examples, because it's quite complicated sometimes, where I just like, I'm unaware of certain things, and I will also kind of like people take the piss out of me a bit. And like, I think people have in the past taken advantage of my naivety, and that's led to some quite difficult relationships. I think there's also the time value thing, and just like being able to have access to like just to produce. I produced in my bedroom up until 8 months ago, where I got a studio now, which is like great. But
fancy.
like, some people will just have that, or like, you know, have a parent's house that has like a, you know, 5th bedroom that they can use. So my first like Ableton was cracked, and I still never really buy plugins, because I'm like, I have like working class scarcity mindset, even though I've very much moved up the class ladder now and I'm earning comfortably. I still have like a raw scarcity mindset with like the income that comes in, and I don't really buy loads of different things. I think another thing is like the constant anxiety as well. Like I find it difficult to say like no to gigs, because I'm like, well, I don't have like, the part of the reason why it took me so long to stop working full time was just like the financial security of a salary. So yeah, I didn't know how to like fully like embrace. I mean, it still causes me a hell of a lot of stress. Yeah, and there's that. I guess I don't know anything about finances either, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I think
That's
it's really interesting. People need to talk about this stuff more. I was going to say, I think that at least from my experience, the money mindset thing,
Yeah.
because you are effectively self-employed, right? So like that, knowing where the next paycheck is coming from, or knowing whether you can afford to buy X or Y, buy this synth or whatever, when you come from a place of, well, there's never any money. It's hard compared to someone who might be like, yeah, I'll buy this because I know that I'll earn it back eventually or whatever. Like,
yeah. It's like, even if you know that you're like financially stable, it's still like this like ingrained thing in the back of my mind where me and my partner we're both from Yorkshire, we're both working class. And has anyone ever played Zelda Breath of the Wild?
yes.
And we were into it quite a lot, and like we both have like 20,000 rupees, and like I've got like 100 gemstones, and we're both like hoarding them because we have scarcity mindset on Zelda. I'm like, this applies to real life. We both just like can't get rid of. We both don't want to get rid of them just in case we need them.
I love that. Hoarding fake money.
Yeah, honestly, it like applies to everything apparently.
That's amazing. I know that like one of the things you were kind of keen to talk about in this chat was sort of this idea of like gatekeeping in the music industry, and I've heard you talk before about the amount, like the kind of smoke and mirrors that exists, which I think is connected partly to what we were just
100%, yeah.
talking about. Where do you sort of see that happening most, or where has that affected you, do you think?
I think it affected me when I was first learning how to produce. When I used to live in Hull, which is where I went to university, there was a lot of gatekeeping from cishet men. And it's changed a lot since I don't hang out with that type of people anymore. Or the people that I do that are cishet men are like not knobheads. But I think the whole DJ scene was a small pool of people. And it became quite toxic, and opportunities I got was always like, I'd always be like the opener. And I'd still like be the opener, even though I was like, when I went up and played a gig there a few years ago, I was still the opener, even though I'd like at that stage got DJ Mag Award. And the front cover of DJ Mag as well. And I think there's like that, there's just like a bit of that, and like not sharing information. I think like one thing that, the reason why I want to talk about this sort of stuff so much is because a lot of people who are getting into production, like I was, struggled because it was quite overwhelming and there's quite a lot of things to learn. But I just want to like tell people that it's like, don't overcomplicate it, really. And like there's the gatekeeping around this like smoke and mirrors around that. It's like it's actually just kind of made up, like that, like to just dive in and just to have fun and just to make something on that. Like don't worry too much about the complicatedness of it, and like the hierarchy of information and quality control and that sort of stuff. Like kind of what I was saying about people who are like not like me, who's not educated on music theory, versus the people that are. It gets into a whole topic around like academic hierarchy and how that's all bullshit. And like that's another form of gatekeeping within the music industry, and like you keeping within certain knowledge and secrets that everyone can just find on YouTube. So I think the production's a big part of it. I don't know with the gatekeeping too much on the DJ side of things. I feel like I experienced it more when I was younger, when it was like the production side of things, and I don't know, there just seems to be this like secrecy around it. And I think I did a video like last year for my track Round and Round, which I just like looked on YouTube on how to make a wob, like a bass wob. And then I did an Instagram reel, kind of just being like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just made this sound. And I remember someone commenting at me and like, well, they've not told us anything there, have they? I'm like, no, I've told you that I don't know what I'm doing. That's information that's useful, because it's useful to share the information that we don't know what we're doing half of the time. And that dispels a lot of the smoke and mirrors around, the idea of like being a master at something, It's just like half the time, none of us know what we're doing. We're just having fun.
I think in the context of us doing a masterclass, I think that's a really important thing to say.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that. It's quite funny that we called it a masterclass, and I'm here being like, there's no masters, there's no hierarchy.
We don't know what we're doing. I actually remember seeing that video and I thought it was really great. And it was
Thank you.
also really interesting reading the comments.
Just a lot of like Ninja Tune, again, like older men that have like been a fan of Ninja Tune since the Mr. Scruff days, and all these new producers coming through who are like actually being open about their technique and they don't like it.
Yeah.
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, which is really interesting. I think there's also a tendency I find with production for people to like gatekeep with jargon. It's like, well, let's use some really complicated language to talk about what's happening.
100%.
And actually, it goes wub.
Yeah. I still don't know if that's like is a technical term for the sound of the bass that I make. It just goes wub.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. I'm aware that there's so many different areas that we kind of wanted to touch on with this. I read out the very long list of awards that you've been nominated for and won earlier. Did you find once you started getting that kind of recognition that it affected your approach to making music or influenced your decision making at all, or did it feel quite you were able to separate from that?
It influenced something. I suppose the tracks that got more popular support were my more accessible tracks. So a track called For You, and that was the one that got RA Track of the Year, and that's what sort of like accelerated my career, I suppose. And then the track that came out of my Ninja Tune EP after that called And Groove, which is probably still my highest streaming track that I've made on my own. Actually, I think, if anything, it didn't make me want to make more of that. It made me want to make less of it, because I got put on all of these like house-adjacent lineups. A festival had booked me. I was playing on the disco stage, because I've made some disco edits, and I was playing hard house. And it really didn't fit in. So I think, the album and like the subsequent EPs after those sort of tracks, for me being like, I don't want to be put into this like house box. And I never have been that, and my music's always, like, some people have commented on my album and said like, oh, it's heavier than usual. I'm like, no, if you listen to any of my EPs, they've all got that level of genre differences in it. I've always made like a track that's like 120 and a track that's 160. Like that's been pretty consistent. But it's what you're choosing to focus on, and what obviously Spotify chose to focus on, that you're referencing that against something that isn't actually true. So it didn't make me think, oh, I need to make another For You track, or I need to make another And Groove, because that's what the people like. It was more like, I want to kind of like just keep on doing me as an artist, I guess.
That's great. And you didn't find yourself thinking, right, this has to be good because now I've won an award?
No, I didn't think about that at all.
That's great. Well done.
Thank you. Well, I suppose I just didn't really... I don't know. I'm honestly not that strategic with things. And I think maybe that's a working class thing as well. It's just like, I don't think about my music career. I am now, because I'm kind of like, 3 years in, and I'm actually starting to think about it. But like, I always started to work with a new manager a few years ago. One of the questions she asked me was like, who are you? What are your strengths? And what's your personal identity? What's your identity to this career? And I was like, just couldn't answer her. And I think, that's a downside to certain things. It's good to be strategic. But then some people are only strategic and only career focused. And I don't know, it's kind of, I need to strike a balance between like doing you as an artist and just being true to yourself as an artist, and also thinking about like, how I'm going to pay the bills. So, I don't know. I never really I don't think there's been a time at all that an award has influenced what I make at all.
That's great. And I think you made a really interesting point there about that balance between like having a strategy and a sense of direction and thinking about money, basically, versus doing what you love and being able to enjoy it. That's the tension, isn't it, between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose also like, I think I'm quite a good DJ, and I think that probably helps. And that is again the main income stream. It's like, I probably wouldn't get booked if I was like clashing everything and it didn't sound good. So I think that having like that strength as well really, really helps. So I can maybe, I don't know, like be more, maybe not think so much about the production side of things. I don't know. I probably do. I don't know.
I feel like now I've asked you this question, you're going to overthink next time you sit down. I'm really sorry. Sort of related to that, when we chatted before, you were talking a little bit about kind of suddenly becoming like a public-facing artist, sort of getting all that recognition, becoming a bit of a public figure as a successful DJ and a producer. How did you find that experience?
It's still really weird, I guess. I think I'm learning how to choose what I want to share and what I don't want to share. I've had to publicly transition since I've sort of come through as an artist, which has been an intensely vulnerable, stressful, but also very rewarding experience. And I'm at this stage now in my transition and my comfortability as an artist where I don't want my transition to be front and center. And I've put the album was sort of like a way of doing that for me. I worked with all trans artists. Like every single collaboration was a trans artist. All of the creative direction was trans, photographer, like videographer, everything. And that was like a raw project for me to just sort of like honor that period of my life. But now, sort of going forward into like what I want to share about that, I kind of just want it to like not be the whole point of me, and like it is a part of me, obviously, but I don't want to share so much because I want to just protect my energy around it, because I feel like I've had to be so open online. I don't know many trans or trans-masc artists in my sort of field, so I've often had to be the one that has these like primary conversations around gender and toilets and pronouns and all that sort of stuff, and it can just get quite exhausting. So, but if it wasn't, I suppose, I think actually having that public view on me, the public gaze was what initially made me realise that I was trans. So I had a mirror put up against me and everyone was using these wrong pronouns. I was like, this is not me. This is so weird. All of these people that I've never met are looking at me in a way that I don't see myself, and that helped me like realise that I needed to transition, basically. So there's been a benefit to it, because I had a mirror held up against me. But also having to do it in the public eye has just been, a bit much, and I just want a break from it.
I think that's completely fair enough. And like, there's not, as you said, there's not many people that have been in that position in music industry generally, let alone in electronic music.
Yeah, I know a lot of obviously I know lots of trans artists, but like I don't know anybody who's actually like transitioned and like like publicly changed their name and like all those sorts of things, because that's been such a massive pain in the arse as well. So.
Yeah, so the systems are not there to support that kind of...
If anybody wants to change their name here or change their name, will know the admin behind it is the most burdensome thing in the entire world. It's fucking awful. I hate it. And then my artist name as well is like, on top of that. It's like not only like the personal admin, but it was like, all of like the public admin as well. It's long.
I guess because you exist on the internet in so many places, and it's not just like a private individual doing it.
Yeah, I've had to go on like a personal journey in the last year with accepting that like previous iterations of a form of me are always going to exist online. I'm not ashamed of it. It's when I worry that it could be used against me, it puts me in a level of vulnerability that I feel uncomfortable with. As long as people get it right and people are respectful and don't bring it up, I'm fine. But it's like, it's like a weird sort of like reckoning I've had to do with myself, because I think of a lot about like Elliot Page. Like he's transitioned publicly. All of his like major films and productions have been him pre-T as well. So I'm like, if Elliot Page can do it, like I can. K Tempest as well, another like publicly transitioning person, and like trans-mass people that have already had like quite big names behind them. Obviously, I'm not as big as them at all. I'm just trying to think of people that have like are in the public eye and have had to go through like quite a similar process. But I think I don't know. I would love to talk to them one day to pick their brains about how they found the sort of like the reckoning behind it and the acceptance of the former self that will always exist in archive and you can't just get rid of.
And kind of social media, actual media, there's all of these different elements that you're sort of dealing with as well, both in that context and as an artist generally. I'm interested to know if you have any sort of advice for emerging artists about how to sort of mentally prepare yourself for that kind of attention, I guess, or or maybe what you wish you'd known before.
boundaries with yourself on social media. You don't have to reply to everybody. I'm learning that a lot. It's okay for the messages just to sit in the requests, I think. Some people have I think some people they see that I'm quite open about stuff online, and I don't know these people. They will ask me questions, and I'll be like, oh, sorry if this is too much, you don't have to answer. I'm like, yeah, damn right I don't have to answer. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm not answering these questions. You can just Google it.
Wow, people say that. That's
yeah.
mad.
Yeah. So I think there's boundaries to have with how much you want to share, how much you choose to share. But I also think there is a beauty in being vulnerable and being yourself on social media, especially social media where, the algorithm and all that is awful, and we need more voices that aren't just homogenized sort of algorithmic TikTok influencer hooks. We need actual genuine voices. So I think there's again a balance between sharing how much you choose to share and how much you want to protect for yourself. I think I'm quite an open person, but there's still quite a lot of stuff that I don't share. There's extremely personal sort of upbringing stuff, family stuff that I don't talk about publicly because it's just too much. So I think I do have boundaries, but I think in time there's been some times I've been I kind of wish I hadn't have overshared that much or whatever. But then at the other side of that, people have messaged me and said that I've been helpful to them. So it's it's a balance.
Yeah, what's the phrase? A vulnerability hangover.
Yeah,
that's that's the risk, isn't it? If you can share too much and then you feel so bad afterwards that it's quite hard to work out what to do in that situation.
Totally, yeah. I think for people that have experienced some form of trauma in their lives in some shape or form, whatever that may be, when you share something that is connected to that in some shape or form, your nervous system doesn't know the difference. So you're re-traumatizing yourself in that sort of way. So it's look after yourself when you share things. I'm sharing a lot right now, so I'm how the hell?
Yeah,
what shall I go and do after this to go look after myself? Well, you got me gym at the hotel?
Yeah, I've got
so
gym.
That's my self-care. It's just I'll do some... I'll just run a bit and be God, I hope everyone didn't hate me during that talk. I've really bad social anxiety, and I do these talks semi-frequently at this stage, and I'm oh God, I've shared too much.
It's okay, we can edit. It's fine.
Oh, it's fine. I feel like I'm. Whenever I actually went into this talk, saving okay, how much am I going to share? Where's I spoke to you about it before on the call. How I need to assess. No offense in the audience. I need to assess the audience before I share so much. And you all seem lovely from what I can see of you. But yeah, there's a certain thing where I've been I need to choose who I'm sharing these things to. It's easier in this room because I can see you all, but I don't know who looks at my profile.
Yeah, and who's on the internet?
Yeah,
watching on YouTube.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's a head fuck.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, it's fine. It's YouTube. It's all right.
Yeah, honestly, it is such a head fuck.
But I think it's good to acknowledge that, and the point you made about exercise is, I'm sure, a really valuable one as well. Having some other outlet way to expend energy and the endorphins and stuff that you get from exercise all help mentally with that side of things.
Absolutely, yeah. DJing helps as well. I think DJ is a really good way to process emotions. I've always used it for that.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I guess I will share a personal story. When I was in uni, one of my best friends died, and I DJ'd the night of his funeral. Sorry, it's quite heavy. I should have given a warning on that.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, sorry. But I think that actually really helped me connect with art, because I was thinking about all the sort of emotions that I want to convey in the grief that I was experiencing, basically. And ever since then, I've always, I guess to help me not get over, but you never really get over it, but to help you process the grief. I was just mixing constantly, and I was just using it as an escapism. So yeah, DJing really, really helps me process things.
That's fascinating. It makes a lot of sense, I guess, because you're using your brain, you're getting into a flow state, you're using your hands, you've got music as well. I can see how all of that combines to actually be really really powerful.
I think it's a flow state for sure.
Yeah, and dancing and all of that. The movement. Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sorry if that was heavy. Soz again.
Maybe just to sort of bring things to a bit of a close, is there anything that you know now that you wish you'd known when you started out on this journey, as a producer specifically, or more generally as an artist?
I feel like broadly it's quite hard to answer. As a producer, because conceptually or technically are different things. But as a producer conceptually, I guess I think I wish I'd have got into it a bit sooner and just like stopped worrying too much about the outcome and just like gone into it and had fun. But technically, I would turn everything down.
Like volume-wise?
The volume. Turn the volume down. Yeah.
Nice.
Turn the hi-hats down. Always turn your hi-hats down. That's one thing that I wish I'd have learned earlier on.
Nice. I love that practical tip.
Yeah, because I suppose it is different things. Like, the concept of being a producer and like actual practical things are different, aren't they?
Yeah. I love that right at the beginning I was like, we're not going to get into technical things. We've ended on a very specific...
Yeah, that's the only bit of technical information I'm sharing with you today. Turn your hi-hats down.
Love that, thank you. Just to sort of wrap things up a little bit, what do you have coming up that you're excited about, that you're able to share, that you're working on at the moment, or that you're looking forward to this year? What are you excited about right now?
So, I had a bit of a strategy plan. Now I'm thinking strategically as an artist. After my album, we were like, where do I go now? And I think I've had some quite useful reckoning. I don't really know the word. I had a chat with one of my friends who also released an album a few months ago, and she was like, I really feel like I can put that to bed now. And that really helped me think about my own projects and what I'm doing next. And I feel like my album was me being this is me, this is all of me, this is my influences, this is a style of music that I love to make. And I sort of I feel like as a working class artist also, I'm trying to constantly prove my worth to people. And it was really helpful hearing my friend Anna say that, she's feel like she's done that and now she can put that to bed and work on a new project. That's been the sort of process I've been on post-album came out, has been just having that sort of relationship with a project. So the next thing that I'm sort of focusing on is, I think what I decided was to basically just focus in on things a bit more. My album is very broad, which I'm very happy with, and it needed to be. But I want to focus in a bit more on my strengths, which, as we discussed earlier, is apparently emotional, hopeful things. So I'm trying to sort of lean into that a bit, and I'm working with a lot of vocalists at the moment, which has been fun because it's also something that I've never done before. I've sampled quite a lot of vocals, but never actually sat in a room with a vocalist and learned all of that, which has been a very interesting process. It's hard work. Not with a vocalist. The vocalists are lovely, but it's just oh my god, if the vocalist just goes back to the mic 5 minutes later and sings 5 centimeters further apart, I've got way more work I need to do now. So there's so many different things that I'm learning about that. So yeah, the plan is to release a series of singles this year, see where that takes me, and I'm very up for doing another album. I think I've got, I have an idea about what the second album would look like. So that feels nice.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing more guitar basically.
Nice.
Which is fun.
Yes, in fact, I completely forgot that I really wanted to ask you about your live sets.
Yeah.
I feel like we've sort of moved away from that part of the conversation now. But
yeah.
Very very briefly, I'd love to know how you came to put that together. I'm really interested that you're playing guitar.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So I never really thought I was an imposter syndrome, usual stuff. I never thought I was an artist that could do live, and I think that quite a lot in electronic music live can be quite, I say it in inverted commas because it's well, what are you actually doing that's live here? So I've always thought that, and I've had to know that there's always a lot more to it. My friend Tennille, she did her first live show a few years ago, and she was telling me about all the different layers that she'd built to make it live. So she had control over a surround sound system, and she was able to map hi-hats and sounds and sirens all around these things. I was like, that's so cool. You just it's another way of being creative. So that, like, speaking to Neil was like what really like made me think maybe I could do this, because it was complete, like, just, yeah, it was creating a whole new project in itself. So when the album came out, I like went straight into planning for live, and it was basically like me breaking down and picking apart and effectively remixing my own music, and then reimagining it in like a live context. So I play guitar since I was a kid, but my guitar that I actually use is my partner's. Like, I don't even own one. Much of their enjoyment, they bought a guitar and I just nicked it off of them. And I was like, oh, I think because of and Groove and like I've Always Been and a few other tracks that I've made have a guitar in them that I didn't play, but I can like learn. So I just thought that'd be the thing that for me makes me believe that I'm seeing a live artist rather than just some person pressing a button. I was like, I want to play guitar and I want to do all these like different things on the stage which show that it's a live show. So I like got a voice box which changed my voice, where I could do the People Want Nice Things track. Use a sampler which like triggers sound effects and drums, so I can do live drumming, and then play guitar and like do a lot of the live effects and all that sort of stuff. So it was really important for me that I created a project that was distinguished from the DJ side of things, and also just like push me as an artist. Like, it's really helped me as a producer and as a DJ, which is fun.
That's super interesting. That it's bringing something different to you creatively as well as offering something different to the audience.
Yeah, totally. And shout out to my VJ who's in the audience. Yeah, I worked with Jay, and they did like some incredible visuals for the show as well. And I think that like adding a visual element to the live thing has been really cool. Like, Jay was doing it like live as I was playing, so they were like, figuring out the big moments, the relaxed moments, and creating an experience, which is kind of what I think live should be.
That's amazing. So have you got some live shows coming up this year?
I've just got one, actually. I'm hoping for some more.
Anyone watching?
Yeah, I'm playing at Roskilde Festival in Denmark.
Nice.
That'd be really fun. It's my first European live show. I have to buy a guitar case.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you better not break the guitar.
No, oh god.
That sounds very exciting, and looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully there'll be some in the UK later in the year.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It's been super interesting. I feel like we could have gone on for another hour easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge round of applause for iJordan.
Thank you.
And also huge thank you to all the funders and organisations that have made all of this possible: Arts Council England and Beatport, Audio Technica for the sound, Cradle and Ableton as well, who've also supported the programme. And we'll be back very soon with another masterclass. Thank you.